and welcome to Your Questions Answered. We are the Dadley Boyz of What Culture. I'm Adam Wilborn, joined by Michael Hamflett and Michael Sidgwick to answer your burning wrestling questions.
Who's a Michael Hamflett?
Apologies, this was going to be live on YouTube, but due to technical issues, we are pre-recording this, but we do have your chat here, so I'll be answering as many wrestling questions as we can, because we do daily wrestling podcasts here, of course, at What Culture, where we review Raw, Smackdown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0. AEW Dynamite, AEW Collision, pay-per-views, premium live events. We have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a round of the week complete with a very good quiz, of course. And I've just realised I've done this the wrong way around because we also do podcasts on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and on YouTube. Anyway, let's dive into the chat. Let's start with a question today from Matt Rains, who says, "Good morning, my king, Wilborn, and others. What are each of your personal favourite moments in wrestling this year? For me, just seeing that atmosphere at Wembley for another promotion was incredible. Cheers, brothers." Cheers for the question, Matt.
Thank you very much for the question, Matt. I'll go first. Why not? After all, Matt Rains is the #1 Sidgwick mega fan. I've got a couple, so I'll tell you them. Honestly, it's been a half an hour in the studio, I'll tell you that for now. It's been half an hour in this bloody studio. Off the top of my head, that's the way to do it. You don't want to think about these things that you felt most keenly. The way in which Bryan Danielson tried to bridge out of a hammerlock from ZSJ at Wrestle Dream and then realized, can't do it with that arm. It's like you just worked a momentary lapse in concentration. That's how just realistic this match you're working is. That was absolutely wonderful. I howled with laughter and just was struck by, you've absolutely nailed this in the first minute. I was going to strap in here. The MJF Adam Cole main event, when they take the concept of banter and friendship and like mugging your mates off. And there's a limit to how far you should go. But, you know, when you're taking the mick out of your mate, like, I'm like square-headed and all the rest of it. They would just
do
like
it,
that.
Yeah, just as an example.
Yeah.
And they were doing that in the context of a wrestling match by cheating, trotting on each other's backs and strutting and just bantering each other off at a store. I don't think I've ever seen a wrestling match like this before, and you're doing it for the first time, this experimental new thing, and just friggin' Wembley Stadium, why don't you? That storyline and that dynamic just felt absolutely untouchable, and I think people should remember that as well, how magic it was, because it's all so easy, damn, because that's horrible, but they had magic together, and it was a really bold kind of magic. I remember the first 5 minutes, me and Hamflett were just loving it. Absolutely loving it. And you loved something else at Wembley as well, didn't you?
I did indeed. Just on that, by the way, did 30-odd thousand people feel it enough to come back again the second year? That's
potentially
really impressed people. That AEW number, we should put it over. We've been critical of the creative direction, and one of the reasons why you're critical of creative direction is because ultimately it can drive a decline in business, and that obviously impacts the future of the promotion and all that, and yet people either loved it enough the first time that they're going back or felt enough FOMO from the first time that they desperately want to be there. So something has definitely worked from that show to bring people back this time around. But yeah, we use the phrase coming out of Wembley, face of God.
Religious experience.
And I got two more words for you. Da Punker, because it happened twice in 2023. Because I got everything from CM Punk, the in-ring genius at Wembley, and I got everything from CM Punk, the self-promotion genius at Survivor Series, and the reality, the cult of personality has never been more appropriate now that he's gone back to WWE at the expense of so many things he has said and done very recently in his career, let alone in his original Ring of Honor run. He is a force of nature if you like him, if you care about that man in pro wrestling and you want him in it, or I suppose even for some people that hate him, I think he creates that emotional response one way or the other.
Well, what did we see it all in?
We were kind of giving it the old, CM Punk, while partly antagonistically, in a fun way.
In an interactive way.
Yeah, in an absolutely sort of home and away fans sitting together way, while elite fans turned their back on him.
Literally could not bear to watch him.
That was what they kind of, and we sort of realised that AEW had this as a crowd experience, even if through the screen it just looked like wrestlers all hated each other, and then as it would prove, it was kind of both, actually. So untenable as it absolutely was to get it twice. Punk coming back to WWE, I think I alluded to this on some of our Raw coverage last week, as somebody that wants so much to enjoy WWE and has been given a year in which there's been loads of opportunities to do so, to then get kind of your living, working favourite back in it was just the icing on the cake. Of like a brilliant year, one of my favourite years as a wrestling fan, and it's ended on a high because like looking at WWE, it's pretty much coming to an end. They're going to have a very, very WWE December by the looks of it.
Yes.
So we're pretty much wrapped from here.
I think in terms of personal favourite moments in wrestling, I have to mention Money in the Bank, because that evening for me was fantastic. Not just necessarily, I mean, the event, but it was the final stream that we were doing before I went off paternity leave, etc., and was going to miss the streams, etc., and all that. I enjoyed the show first and foremost, and then we went out afterwards. Just great vibes, basically. So I had a lovely time watching Money in the Bank. I do have to mention pretty much everything surrounding Backlash, because there was unquestionably a sense of, is everything going to be all right after the shenanigans of night 2 of WrestleMania? And Backlash, you just thought, oh, right, okay, Cody and Brock are doing that. Yeah, the Zelina Vega thing, and then, of course, we
the Bad Bunny entrance. To this day, me and Wilborn and Hamflet still pop for it. We were doing the rehearsals for the live show, and let's just say we might have done something at the start that's a bit funny, and we were just playing Bad Bunny's song. Yeah. Just like that got us in the mood. That got us hyped for the podcast.
But I think one thing I've not really mentioned a lot is the end of night 1 of WrestleMania, because it's sort of been lost in everything, obviously, because of the end of night 2 of WrestleMania and the rubber chicken and Cody and all that. But like the end of night 1 of WrestleMania, I got the sense we're walking out with everyone. Everyone's in such a good mood. You know, KO and Sammy, they've just won the tag titles in the main event of WrestleMania against the Usos. Everyone was like, I think, because like night 1's always great. I think we're literally living in a golden age of WWE right now. And tomorrow night, Cody's going to become world champion. And then what's that going to bring and what have you? Everyone was in such a good mood. I loved the vibes leaving that show.
I know I cannot get through a single podcast without saying, well, the weekly TV's a bit boring. But even though I do think that still, I watched 95% of WrestleMania and my thought was, it's better than 17 this. Yeah. And it's better than 17.
Because the match quality was so much higher.
The match quality was absolutely incredible. The production, like just something like Dom's entrance. It's like, Jesus Christ, they've just absolutely smashed this from 40 yards into the postage stamp. Like they couldn't have struck the sweeter note between the production, characters, the match quality, like the sequencing of these 2 nights. It might age wonderfully.
Yeah.
If they can ramp up this Cody and Roman program, it's not just merely delivering the correct result. I think they really need to nail the program to justify this 2-year WrestleMania is like one of the best ever things they've ever done. But my prevailing feeling watching WrestleMania for most of night 2 and all of night 1 was, this could be the new one.
There was a bit of Vince and Bruce and Pat round the pool, I think, about, a couple of months back when Cody and Jade won the belts and were about to lose them, but they had the one opportunity to have Cody and Roman pass each other on SmackDown. That felt like a choice, didn't it?
Yeah.
That felt like we've plotted through a week where that can happen. Do it, and let's just judge the reaction. And in the building and online, people went insane for it. And it was like, we've still got them. This is still absolutely going to work. We've got people where we want for that specific match to, as you say, kind of like elevate last year's show.
Yeah.
In the years that people do rewatch WrestleManias, a lot of WWE stuff is designed to be disposable, but WrestleMania sort of does stick out. Yeah. So I do think it'll age quite well.
There's surprises as well on that show of like that. Was it the 4-way? I was like, where's this?
The showcase was incredible.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I'm sure I speak for all of us when I mention our live show as a personal favourite moment in wrestling this year.
Yeah. Oh, that was tremendous.
It sounds indulgent, but absolutely yes. Incredible.
Hopefully, maybe you'll be able to watch that soon.
Maybe, I don't know.
And maybe that's not the last live show we're going to do. Hi to John Oldfield. Hi to John Oldfield.
Hi, Jan.
Hi, Jan.
He says, what do you guys think is harder in wrestling, being a heel or a babyface?
Being a babyface.
Yeah.
Being a babyface. They all say...
Has it pivoted a bit in 2023? So. No?
I just think...
We've had a lot of chats about heat lately.
Yes. We've had a lot of chats about heat.
The friendship is the driving force of so many stories, and that's about people's good side, isn't it?
Yeah. I guess... The old classic cliche, if you speak to any wrestler, they just prefer to be a heel until they want some more merchandise. And actually, I'll be a babyface. Because I think it's hard to do anything
Genuinely, which is weird because we are in a period of like amazing success with the professional wrestling business. In terms of earnest reactions, like really earnest reactions that are going to get you over into a main event, it's pretty hard. Like if you're Cody Rhodes in WWE, you kind of carry the thing of, oh, how do you get beloved, universally beloved or respected at the very least? I kind of had to change the entire industry. I was like, all right, well, how the hell do you do that? You know what I mean? It's really hard. For a babyface, people have always gravitated towards stars. Like to say with 1989, Flair and Steamboat, like that was true then. In a heel, all you have to do in an arena to get a reaction from people who are just buzzing to be there is to do a simple heel trick. Like, I'm going to do a move. Nah, I'm not. I'm going to deprive you of the cool move. Ah, you dickhead. It's very easy to do that. If a babyface is like, begging for your sympathy,
yeah. I do wonder, like, I don't know if part of the audience, you know, like obviously people going for love and friendship over violence and hatred and all that, and that's been like a theme of this year. Maybe that's not just a wrestling thing so much as it is an audience profile thing, and like how it's often spoke about how WWE in the Attitude Era and pop culture were like so rarely in sync as they were then. An element of that might have happened, like have people turn to wrestling for nice things more than awful things because there's so many awful things elsewhere. And if like wrestling is supposed to be an escapist form of entertainment, and now rather than escaping from a world you're happy in into violence, you need to escape from a violent world into happiness.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why that has been as successful as it is, because people are looking for the heart more than they're looking for the hatred. But the prize in wrestling is still the top babyface spot. It's the same as, and unfortunately, like for tag teams, this has happened too because WWE established the rules and everybody has to work to them. But like tag teams, the prize is often, well, is one of you going to be a singles guy in Split? Who's going to be the singles guy? If you're a heel, how long are you heel before you become so popular that you have to be turned babyface? The babyface spot is still that one that's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So until that changes, that's probably still the hardest one to attain. But I do think maybe wrestling is reflecting society a bit, and people want to feel the warmth of like relationships again and the establishing of things on wrestling because it's more of an escape than it's ever been. The world's pretty horrible, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, that's awful.
We talked a lot about the Continental Classic recently.
Blue League, go it.
Jeremy Sturgis says, how about this as a booking? I'll come to you first on this one. Kingston wins the remaining matches. Bryan goes undefeated. Kingston then beats Mox in the semi and beats Bryan Danielson in the final. That's got to be the booking, right?
I don't love the Mox Kingston final as much as other people do, and I've seen it a lot, and it makes a lot of sense. Obviously, it's Mox and Kingston. I don't really love the Kingston, I promised it all, and I've managed to get this far and hold on to my belts, and then it's Moxley that takes them away. I don't think it's where Moxley is right now. I don't think that character needs more cruelty. Like, I'd like to just be settled with Jon Moxley, the babyface, again, rather than taking the belt. And they can tell the story with two babyfaces, but it's a real uphill battle for Jon Moxley if he's just taking his best friend's titles. Now, Jamie.
Does that make it easier then if you do that in the semis?
I think as a semi-final match, I would prefer that. Danielson, I love because I think at the moment, Danielson is selling you on another Kingston match, even if it's not happening in the tournament.
Yeah,
like the build up to the match, and then that that meditation promo he cut. Like he's both putting over Eddie Kingston and just affording him no quarter whatsoever for the way he sees things. Danielson's such a genius. Because of the characters they are kind of seeding like a legacy rivalry, but even if they never wrestle again, because they're just so opposite and yet the same. So I would love them to get back to Danielson Kingston. But what I really like about that is Kingston Mox in the semi. I would like to see them two have that match and it not be all or nothing for Eddie, because I just don't think it helps Mox at this point. For me personally as a fan, it's the worst case scenario is Moxley just taking Kingston's belts and like walking off.
I want Moxley and Kingston to have a kind of a competitive babyface-ish final on this thing that's been sort of built up. I know Jay White's cheated. The thing's been built up as pristine, immaculate sporting competition. No cheating, no seconds, no interference, no nothing. And then Moxley to cheat in that final against Kingston, sparking an actual heel Moxley versus babyface Kingston. And that's really one of the very few scenarios I can see myself really buying into this heel Moxley character. Because I don't hate him. I'm just like put off by how intense and hard he is. That's not a true love to hate. I could get that, I think, with a babyface Kingston. Then they have this full-on, proper, one-on-one, direct animosity, hatred, everything, blood feud, the likes of which people have thought has been missing a bit from AEW of late. this will be in a subversion of the Revolution 2021 finish, like the redemption of Jon Moxley. He just becomes a babyface, and then he goes on to win, and then he can do heel world champion Swerve Strickland versus a redeemed proper babyface. We love you all over again. Thank you for everything. Jon Moxley in one of the big shows in 2024.
I like that Swerve and Moxley thing. Yeah. I think that's why I'm wanting to keep him babyface, but it's probably better that he earns it all over again.
Yes, I think so.
Stephen Oklokopoulos, thank you for your donation as well. Edward Shirazhan says, "G'day, handsome gents. Considering the ratings for Collision, should AEW actually do a round of? Do you want to do the song that we do for the game?
Well, this is ladies' night. Nothing. What night? You trying to mix it up. What a night. Let's go to Headfield, the classics.
Yeah. So I assume Steve means basically transform that into a women's wrestling
I'm
only
under
show.
pressure from no one to change the theme. Just want to do it, you know?
Should they do that and tie it in with the return of Thunder Rosa?
I'll do like a all women's Collision.
That's what I read from this question.
I'd like to see that. Like, how often do we see a wrestler like Kiera Hogan was on Collision? And she had a pretty ropey match where a lot of what they did looked very choreographed, and when something that looks very, very choreographed to begin with doesn't come off, it looks like you're not even wrestling in there. It looks like you're just getting into position for your spots, and it just was really ropey, and it was quite short, and I just felt sorry for all involved because you're not getting reps. They're not getting the chance to just do this by muscle memory, repetition. Do it. In any walk of life. It's like writing. I stopped writing between like university and this job for like, at times, like 3 years. It's like the thought of doing it was just like really like off-putting, daunting. Then when I finally started to do it, everything I wrote just felt crap and lame and all the rest of it. Now, like I sometimes, and this is a bit of a dickhead confession, right? I will sit, because I've been doing it for my job over and over and over and over again. You get in these zones where if you get into this zone of doing things, and this is like, I'm using writing as an example, as the analogy here, when it's boom, 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 you get locked into these zones. There's times when I write a joke, or like an insight, or like just a collection of words, and I'll just go to myself at my desk. Where I'm just like smug and dialed in and just like really confident.
Yeah.
How are 95% of the women in AEW ever meant to reach that sort of zen of, when they're proper, dialed into the process, confident? It just ain't going to happen unless you have, well, there's a lady at night, and I'm thinking, what a night on Collision. They need some business relationships with like stardom, or like just, I don't know, something like strike up relationships with some of the more prominent indies in the US. Say, right, you put them on here, or like, I don't know what it is, but this current system does not work whatsoever. And when I see someone like Akira Hogan have a match that is pretty ropey, or I see someone like Anna Jay go months without a proper TV match, and then she gets a TV match, and it's just the Anna Jay TV match where it's a bit good, but sometimes she gets lost or whatever, and no one cares about it because you can't invest in a character like Anna Jay. It just, it's bleak. It's all very bleak, and I love that idea because at least it's one actual bold attempt to get around this problem. It's self-fulfilling prophecy over and over and over again.
Yeah, it was, when you're describing the writing thing, it wasn't just that, it's not just the matches, is it? It's, you can tell when you're watching wrestling. There are characters that are like really locked in and know exactly who they are, and it's why for the longest time everyone was championing Britt Baker and couldn't wait for her to win the title, because when there was so little space with which to get over, she took that space and became one of the most important characters on the show. And even though the tooth and nail match was pretty terrible, and a lot of the in-ring didn't support a Britt Baker for world champion. It was all right, but it wasn't like she was moving mountains as a wrestler. But nonetheless, you were like, well, I absolutely love this character. She's dialed in. You've got to strap her up. And when she did, I remember that go-home promo she cut on Hikaru Shida, and I think at the time comparisons were being made to like the Austin 316 one. Obviously, very different outcomes from that, but the confidence she exuded was, I'm going to be the next big star, and the belt, I am the next big star, and the belt is more confirmation of that.
Yeah.
Like, my ascension is done, basically. And I think you're just not seeing that with enough women's wrestlers in AEW because the system isn't really set up to help them. Athena came in as a polished, experienced wrestler who had done it all wrestling. So the easiest thing for her is to come in and just go out there and have a functionally enjoyable match or a well-worked match or whatever. But you start remembering Athena matches when she gets locked into that character, and you can see it in her eyes and you can see it in her body language, everything. And there are so few women's wrestlers that have that kind of very hard to articulate body language. And Toni Storm, I think to her immense credit, whether you like or dislike this character, has it in this character as much as she had it in the last one when she was kind of one of the division's aces. If you go back and look at her in the CWC in NXT, she simply doesn't belong. She doesn't know what she's doing there. Her work, as much as it suits a grimy and grim atmosphere because it's hard hitting, the character's not believable, and she doesn't look like she really fits and knows what a direction is. And if you get one match in every 4 weeks, or you get 3 matches just to lose a title match and then disappear again, how can you get comfortable with your character? How can you get comfortable in your own skin when you're supposed to project that? Bold stuff like that, people would blow off that suggestion as like pie in the sky.
Too naive.
Yeah, naive, impossible, whatever. It is all those things, but you need to do that. Both these things can be true. Yeah. It's all those things, but you do need to do these things.
Scott Dobson says, "G'day, fellas. Who's your ideal final 4 for the Rumbles?" Scott wants Sammy, Drew, Punk, and Cody, with Punk winning, dashing their dreams. And for the women, any combination with Bayley and Bayley winning.
I think it's Punk and Rollins, and not even, if I'd never heard those reports, I really like the detail that Adam Pearce tried to lure Randy Orton to Raw on SmackDown with a world title shot. And then I think it's interesting that Punk is going to SmackDown, and he might also be the subject of where are you going to go? And then Adam Pearce is like, I'm offering title shots here. And then Punk will be like, yes, please. And there's your perfect route into Punk versus Rollins. And that might get them out of Punk in the Rumble situation anyway.
Yeah.
Because that, like, Punk's a divisive figure, but I do believe he would also divide the audience with Cody, and you don't really want to be doing that.
No.
Cody and Gunther should absolutely be in the Final 4 together. There's nice Rumble lore developing between them, and I think it's another tease of a huge singles match that they'll have later this year, hopefully in Berlin, but somewhere they'll have a massive, massive singles match. I think Drew makes the Final 4 because that's good motivation for whatever.
The closer he gets, the more it'll fuel the character.
Yeah.
The further away. Like, so close, so far sort of thing.
And I am being talked into a world title run by Sami Zayn so effectively, I could well see him sticking it out as well. And he's maybe a guy that Drew eliminates for the heat, and then gets thrown out himself anyway. And like, you've not then been given Sami and Cody in that. Oh, remember last year when it was me or you, and it's this year and it's me or you again? Because again, why would you put Cody in trouble?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Cody has to win, like you're saying. I think in my head, the moment I heard the Steve Austin thing, I was like, oh, cool, no World Heavyweight Championship match for Punk at WrestleMania. That's absolutely fine. Just put him in there with Stone Cold. So I put him in there.
It's great, that.
Okay.
What an idol win for literally everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gunther, Cody, maybe like a random, maybe like a Bron Breakker or someone big in there could be fun. But like you say, if you had
Ivar, because he's goated.
Yeah, if you had the likes of Sammy and Drew in there, thinking forward to presumably the Elimination Chamber for the World Heavyweight Championship match at WrestleMania, win that and you get, like, you can hoy almost everyone that's in those final 4, 5, 6 even into that chamber, apart from Gunther actually, because he can't go anywhere.
Just thinking practically as well.
He's stuck in the USA, unfortunately.
Like, just thinking practically about the chamber, Cody challenging Roman when Raw is full of these wrestlers that are all chasing Seth's title. You're not short of 6 guys for that match as well. So I just think that's, if it's all going as we're assuming, and as, to be fair, as the booking has kind of guided you towards, I think that's the smart move anyway, having the Raw title be for the chamber. In the women's one, it very much depends on if they pull the trigger on this Bayley damage Katara thing before the Rumble. Like, I think her trying to run protection for Io Sky and then suddenly faced with the opportunity of actually winning the match herself, like, offers up some great drama, but they might have already kicked her out of damage Katara.
It's a Christmas present. It's the new Damage Control t-shirt. Why isn't my face on it?
Great.
Oh, great. That's actually a good bit of booking idea.
Well, maybe I want to roll. What do you reckon?
I am thinking that Becky versus Rhea is the Raw direction. I never get the names of the titles the right way around. I'm sorry. You actually love SmackDown, so you should know.
No, I've got a clue.
It's the World Women's on Raw and the WWE on SmackDown.
So the WWE Women's title, that felt like Charlotte maybe, I don't know, until the recent additions to and developments within Damage Control. And I do feel a bit like you, hopelessly naive, when I think, hang on, do my calculations. Can we finally get a good babyface Bayley on the main roster?
I feel like we're this close.
We are close.
Really close.
Agonizingly close. The 2015 me is kind of alive at that possibility.
Yeah.
If you do Bayley versus Io.
And she's got the side pony back and the wacky waving tube man return at WrestleMania.
Yes. I'm into that. I'm really into that.
And Becky Rhea is such a good contrast because that's oh my God, big buildings falling down, Godzilla King Kong type thing.
You've got your, let's face it, because as much as I love Bayley's 2015, I think the work has declined, and I think injuries have played a huge role in that, but you've got your night one work rate match, probably the best in-ring you've got, I think, Rhea and Becky.
Yeah.
And that can be, Rhea could just win to establish her. It's right, fuck the horsewomen. I'm actually
unpredictable, that.
The number one. And then that night too, or whichever way around, could be your vibes match. Babyface Bayley's back. The match might not be as good, but my God, what a complete disgrace that company is for not doing anything of note with Babyface Bayley on that main roster, knowing what she was like in 2015. And I know for a fact it's not a flash in the pan. It was just truer. I was there.
It was real.
It was real. Yep. It was deep.
And that would mean Bayley's won a Rumble, Becky's won a Rumble, Charlotte's won a Rumble.
Oh my God. The 2025 Rumble is money.
By the by, if I'm Mercedes money and I'm wondering where to go, the Fed.
Yeah.
WWE, AEW just does not. They themselves in these negotiations. Why would you go?
I'm not
You're
bored of her
star.
experimenting, but what has she got to gain from staying out there?
What has any top women's star got to do with going to AEW? Just doesn't want women's wrestling that much.
I saw,
it just doesn't.
I get it as well. I saw some conversation around, was it the cancelled Julia match? And there was a certain sense of, oh no, they're probably going to both end up in WWE. And it's I get how upset you are that maybe it won't take place in Japan or for a Japanese promotion in America, however that was going to shape out. But it's okay to be happy for, I think, female wrestlers having a go of it in WWE. I know there are years and years and years and years of examples of the ball being dropped, but it is still, if you're a woman, surely the place where you want to go and try your hand.
If you want to wrestle, eh?
Yeah, rather than the alternatives.
Let's get some more questions. Andy says, I don't get how SmackDown and Raw are so different. No US show has handled its characters and personal dynamics with as much care as Raw. The stories have had depth. SmackDown's just not close to being as compelling. What do you make of that?
I don't disagree, actually. I put this down to viewing habits more than anything else. SmackDown, I associate with my Saturday morning on the phone screen while I'm trying to make breakfast for the kids and get it watched. And it does feel a bit more lightweight. It must have something to do with Roman Reigns not being there all the time. And yet him not being there helps him. His aura is absolutely protected by his part-time schedule. But the only time I would say since Triple H took over that SmackDown was the destination was when it was Roman and Sammy every week. That was when that was the most vital place to be in WWE. And I do think, that's probably a really basic take. Well, the world champion's not there. But that's what world titles are ultimately for. It's the leader of the company, the brand leader. And this is not a comparison to the days when Hogan was on top, because even if he wasn't on Superstars every Saturday morning, he was always just present. You'd get a Hogan promo, even if it was just to sell tickets to the local town or whatever, or you knew that Hogan was going in to fight whoever. The world champion was always this ever-present figure. Whereas you've seen the meme of the amount of times they've done the Roman returns to SmackDown graphic. That highlights how much he isn't there.
Yeah.
And I do, I'm not yet sold on the world title being at WrestleMania 21, which match goes on last levels, but they're getting there. They're doing it again. And I think over time, they'll level those belts off. And then I think you'll see that you can afford to have Roman Reigns be missed or whatever, I think that must be it. I think it's the absence of a proper world champion makes sometimes some of the mid-card stuff feel a bit rudderless because there's no end point.
What do you make of it all?
No one can do 5 hours a week of good television. My man TK can't do it. Triple H can't. No, that's probably got a bit to do with it. Like, Raw is better than SmackDown. It just is. I don't know. I think it's better talent on Raw, to be perfectly honest, to be completely brutally honest. Some really good talent on SmackDown. But it's just like LA Knight. He's lost the match to Roman, obviously, but like, what happens when he gets over again? What does he do? There's no, like, you need a world champion on those shows.
It's like
doesn't help that the US champion's been disappeared for a while as well.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm trying to care about SmackDown, and I can't. Maybe that's a problem.
Well, but again,
that's just a Raw question. Maybe I'll care about that.
It's Triple H trying to cheat it a little bit because he's got LA Knight saying, I will defeat the Bloodline one by one, as if to suggest that that's the real quiz. But then if you physically can't do that because Roman's nowhere to be found, or like Solo Sikoa returns next week, which they've even tried that graphic once, how much of his plan can he really enact if they're not even there?
Yeah. Andy's, I'm not sure if it's the same, Andy. I assume it is. That's another question.
Thank you.
About how different are HBK and Triple H's booking philosophies? They're kind of 1 and 1A for Booker of the Year, obviously. He hasn't written this. I'm just saying that on top. But yeah, it's tough to call.
It's so weird. Like, Sean is a soap opera writer.
Yeah.
With, like, doesn't have the same sensibilities as Triple H, who's very wrestling. Like, he looks like bloody Baba compared to like Shawn does. Triple H. Like, Shawn Michaels has always had that like irreverent sense of humor, I guess. Not irreverent, but like, I don't know. He just books a soap show that has wrestling on it.
Yeah.
Which is weird because he was like 100 times the professional wrestler Triple H ever was. And yet, and Triple H always seemed to be the more like broader, daft of the two. I know they both like work within those WWE confines that I think are always going to be there. The terrible scripted dialogue, like just the presentation and the fakeness of the world. But I don't know. Like, Sean's just a bit more bold and daft.
I think part of it, and obviously we joke about Sean just cycling through all his own personal back catalog, and why not? There's some really great angles in there, and mind a few of them. When I watch NXT, as daft as it is, and I know we have a lot of fun with it within our own like podcast world of characters that the NXT review and preview has become, but nonetheless, I do get enjoyment out of it. I still feel like Shawn Michaels is doing what is asked of him, as wacky as it gets and as daft as it is. I sort of feel like, we talked a lot on lots of podcasts over the years about the Performance Center. Objectively, it's been a pretty big failure. Mm-hmm. I feel like now, in the same way that NXT is succeeding, the Performance Center is also succeeding because it is now finally, with Vince McMahon gone in the main roster, you're going to do some pretty stupid stuff on NXT, but we did tell you this is WWE training camp. Mm-hmm. Nothing you will do on the main roster is ever going to be as stupid as that one time you did that one segment on NXT. We want the work to get better. We want the matches to get better. For God's sake, find that hard camera. But like, ultimately, if this skit, if you're reading it and you're going, what the frig is this? It's like, well, you've done it. Your character has either survived from it, or in some cases, like Von Wagner, thrived within it. And this will absolutely help you the day that you work the weirdest Raw. The 1 week, you will do something very weird on Raw or SmackDown because sometimes we're just weird. But you'll think to yourself, well, you should have seen what they had me doing down there for a bit while I was doing my in-ring stuff and doing my reps in the background, also doing this. I feel like Sean, as daft as it is and as soapy as it is, it's on message. I think he is absolutely, again, like the synchronization between Triple H and Shawn Michaels is completely different and way more effective than it ever was between Triple H and Dead.
Well, look at the fluidity of, I know they do it often to, pop ratings and what have you, but the ease of which that they have a Dragon Lee move up to the main roster, an Axiom pop up on the main roster, or obviously you've had a hell of a different load of main roster stars drop down to NXT, even if it's just for a 2-week thing.
It's like Triple H is almost invested in it. Whereas Vince just wasn't.
It won't last forever, and nothing does. In wrestling, but right now as well, it's like everything within WWE, it's all in a bit of a sweet spot. There may come a time where Shawn Michaels gets a bit sick of producing the type of stuff he does, unless he just absolutely loves it and wants to do it forever. Equally, there may be a point where Triple H wants something different out of his developmental, and that creates a bit of a divide between the two. But they're in lockstep at the moment, and I think that's something that WWE's never had since they opened probably since you wrote the first book, let alone the book that's hiding in the book hole. Like, I don't think this WWE and NXT, like, I don't think even when Johnny Ace was running FCW, was it as tightly connected as it is right now?
It's always just felt like you do realize that this isn't working and that it exists. Like, how do you not know that these two worlds are under the same like purview? Like it was always baffling to me the way they did developmental. This is the first time they've been like in true sync.
Vince sent Triple H's NXT to die in the Wednesday Night War and never promoted it on Raw half as much as Triple H promotes Shawn's Tuesday show on Raw now. It's like, it almost feels like Vince was in a spite war with himself over NXT.
Thank you to Michael Laverly III, who says 38,473 minutes. Listen to you guys this year. Top 0.5% on Spotify. Never a dull moment. Thanks for everything, Dadleys. Michael, that's absolutely Laverly that you would say something like that.
God damn it. After that specific comment.
Got used to it. 38,000 minutes. You should know what to expect.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
Michael.
you.
Sorry.
Jeff Rainmaker says, Hamlet, did you get your tits back yet? Gateshead to Wisconsin is over 6,000 kilometers, but that has to be some kind of record. Also, could you please keep talking about what's his dick? Definitely not burned out.
Had my tits back for about 3 years. Need to do something about that in 2024.
You're not going to do anything.
Nah. It's past. Like, you get
I don't care anymore.
Get this age, don't you? Yeah, I'm
And then I got to see certain angles.
No, we do it with Ethan Page tit pop, and Ethan Page got in incredible shape now. So
He's
we
looking
could,
great.
for WrestleMania, we could do the tit pop at WrestleMania.
Can't be bothered.
I get it.
I
just
just
tiring on a night,
want
innit?
to lie down and watch the X-Files.
Yeah.
Maybe if I can be bothered. Nah, I just want to do that. I just want to do that.
You just need to sit down a lot at the end of the day. The older and more tired you get.
If you're sitting down, just like on the sofa or something, where are you putting your tea?
Well, I can't just sit with it on my
You can't
lap.
sit on your lap.
Pillow.
You could have a cushion or a pillow, but it feels a bit, I don't know, just there's something slightly off. But if it was adjacent to what would be correct.
Puritanical.
I
just get a tray with a cushion underneath.
I eat at the table and converse with my family.
That is amazing. I aspire to live that kind of life. But speaking of being old and tired and working with children,
It's only because we got the carpet cleaned recently.
oh yeah, I get
And
that.
we're thinking,
You have like 2 good weeks. It's
Two
like
good
any
weeks
new
of the
item you ever
carpet,
get.
yeah.
Like when you get a new phone, and then the first time you drop it, I hate you now. It's
oh, my
dead
glass
to
is always filthy where I care a lot at first. But now the carpet being clean, something about the vibe of the house.
me. Yeah.
It's all in the fabrics of that carpet. The fibers. The carpet. And now it's like, well, I quite like my family, actually. So. Let's keep chatting.
Keep talking. Punk, I don't know. Like I'd like to think that WWE will know what they have this time with him. I don't think he's going to appear every week. I don't think he's going to be a special attraction guy. It was really amazing seeing him on the Rumble poster, and he's like one of 30 guys. And I was like, you're one of a big group of people.
You're a spoke
You're not
in the wheel.
You're a spoke in the wheel, and what do I love most? The wheel itself. Like
Johnny Gargano.
Welcome back, Spoke. Like it was great seeing him on his like first poster back.
Yeah.
I was like, there he is, home. Like I'm the only one that took that message as a shoot, apparently. I just don't think it'll go wrong, so I will continue to enjoy it as long as I think it won't go wrong. If I start to see or sense, then I'll become as uncomfortable as I did when it was happening in AEW. Owens being injured, written off SmackDown on week 1 is a bit like,
Did you see the interview?
Oh my God, yeah.
It was so funny. Did you
Delivery
see
was
this?
amazing.
What's this?
So there's an interview with Kevin Owens, and he was asked first, how do you feel about the return of CM Punk? And then he was asked, how do you feel about the return of Randy Orton? When asked about CM Punk, he went, yeah, I want to go to work and have fun. And if that's his mindset, great. How do you feel about the return of Randy Orton, Kevin? Oh, he's the best guy in the world. I love having him around. And obviously, he's not just a great worker, but
long
just
scroll comes out.
having someone like that in the locker room who doesn't say, I'm a locker room leader, but we just know him to be a locker room leader, helps us all be happy at work. Like, people hate CM Punk, man.
Yep.
Like, people hate him way more than I think a lot of Punk fans like to acknowledge.
yeah.
It couldn't.
And we were critical of it at the time, so I'll be consistent here. Can those within WWE, whether it's Triple H, Paul Heyman, Bruce Pritchard, I don't know, whoever it is, do what we all kind of watched Tony Khan not, which is sort of evade the problem, find incredibly creative and like financially huge reasons why maybe I'll just go away if I do this. And then at the first like sort of case of Punk losing his temper over something, it all just boots off again. Can they find a way to hold it all together? Can you put Kevin Owens and CM Punk in a room if indeed you need to put them in a room? I don't know. Like that's what I watch with trepidation. But I don't know.
I was reliably informed that the Fed, the almighty Fed, will just make the little pawns do whatever they want.
Well, and that's what I'm optimistic that I think they will.
Now they're injuring Kevin Owens' storylines to accommodate CM Punk on SmackDown.
Yeah. That's why I started this with. It made me a bit feel
weird.
Don't love it.
I was just reliably informed that they're all pawns.
Don't love it. I'm still reliable.
Triple H has got the biggest dick and he can do whatever he wants and tell whatever the pawns that he wants to do.
Certainly never said half of that. I think he showed how small that was like 20 years ago.
Switching gears now to AEW, Drew C says, I feel like AEW has a geek problem top to bottom.
Tell him when he's telling lies.
Even the top 2 contenders for World Champ were losers around All In. How/can they correct this? More ROH champions, question mark?
I don't know if this question's being asked in good faith. More ROH champions, I mean, come on. Who's that, Mr. Phoenix?
Drew C.
Drew C. You're usually all right, Drew. If it's one on Twitter I'm thinking of. Yeah, to a degree, right. With Swerve, it's fine, it's Sting. Everyone loses to Sting, okay? They've pretty much, as soon as that ended, Swerve's association with that, it's basically that, right, let's push Swerve. And you know what? People can lose 2 months ago, and if they get as hot as Swerve has, you don't just go, all right, well, they lost 2 months ago, so we can't really do anything. Yeah. Like, go with that momentum. If anything, that it's like, shouldn't they? Don't they get pelters for not pivoting?
Steve Austin never pinned or made Bret Hart submit.
Yeah,
in their entire feud.
Yeah,
that was the one that made him.
Yeah, exactly. And AEW doesn't gets rightly blasted from when they don't pivot or like play the hot hand and let careers wither away. So maybe it isn't necessarily a bad thing if people who lost 2 months ago are now getting hot and now are getting pushed. That's pretty much how it should work, and something for which AEW has been criticised. In terms of a geek problem, there's not many people who really feel like winners there.
There's a just a guy problem. They've developed their own just a guy problem. Different to how WWE used to do it.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of things have happened in that promotion at once. We've spoken at length. 4 years is a long time to just stop caring about people, no matter how talented they are, no matter how much they're still working hard. Like Jericho, Moxley, it's been 4 years. Like I can imagine people would feel that way about Omega. I couldn't because I'm just a massive Kenny Omega mark, but I can see that. I can see that. As ever with AEW, I don't know what the answer is, and it would take longer than a 5-minute spiel. But there's Continental Classic and the stories that are sprouting from it already, like the rise of Brody King, Eddie Kingston finding a device with which you can layer the sympathy on Eddie Kingston all over again, finding a device this tournament to make Bryan Danielson feel like this most arrogant, invincible dude by winning, one match so far? Like, maybe the ranking system is in fact the way. This is a microcosm of how stakes, a number, a visual reminder of how much of a winner this person is, how much of a loser Eddie Kingston is. Like, Eddie Kingston has lost 2 matches, and those results matter so much more than however many matches, I don't know, Darby Allin has won a last this year. You know what I mean? And he's still one of the really over ones. That sporting, like, system where you can see the numbers, the data. Shit. Doing a big thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The Continental Classic is, like, it's a self-own and an attempted fix all at once from Tony Khan, because it's like, it's weird how, like, I've heard people talking about this, and I think, like, we've probably touched upon it, like, how it is. Last week, I was certainly feeling, I didn't even love all the Dynamite stuff, but I was just getting a sense of, right, we're off and running now, and it's definitely creating a feeling, like, I care about the people involved and the points, and you see
Blue League's goated, man. Blue League's goated.
Yeah, like the
levels.
The Collision, it's already developing this sort of aura around it, like those Collision matches and the next ones to come and all of that. And it's weird because...
Tomorrow, by the way. Collision's getting taped tomorrow.
I didn't know this.
Tuesday.
It's weird, that,
it's a long time to avoid those results.
I'm not going to be able to do it.
Maybe, like, getting DMs again about results. I kind of want that to make a comeback. Or like
not results.
DMs about
spoiler-free.
About quality, sorry.
Spoiler-free appraisals of match quality.
It's weird, right? It's sort of... at the moment saying, "Oh, the Continental Classic is sort of fixing a lot of the ill feeling towards AEW."
It's not. It's good, but it runs deeper.
Well, and it reminds me a little bit of when I think it was like Sami Zayn last year. It's like, how has this Sami Zayn thing happened? Booking. Like, it's not this organic thing. They've booked him. This has been kept like Paul Heyman or Roman or Triple H, whoever was doing it, Sami Zayn himself. Tony Khan is booking this Continental Classic, and yet is also booking a certain bit of AEW that he did not like. Like, Continental Classic is a return to the booking patterns that a lot of people enjoyed about old style AEW, and it's currently sitting with a lot of stuff that people didn't like. It's not its own living, breathing entity, and I do wonder if the two things happen at the same time will get him hooked on the praise, online at least, that he was lacking for months and months and months and months. And it does see rankings are probably never coming back, sadly, but this is the closest we've had, and I just think
this should be the ultimate evidence that you should really be bold and attempt a ranking system. Look how much people are really caring about Eddie Kingston losing.
Yeah.
Because those losses are framed in a way now that matters, because they will deprive the character of his goal, maybe even embarrass him. And no one wants that for Eddie Kingston. So his next matches are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. People are using this as well. Swerve Strickland isn't a star unless he wins these matches.
Yep.
This is all acting as a reminder. And sorry to circle back to the question, Drew, why they're feeling like geeks or just the guys. Like, in AEW, where the whole idea all along was wins and losses are meant to matter, these wins and losses mattering to these characters are having this effect on them that people care about them all over again. I care about Eddie Kingston more in the past 2 weeks and a half all year, and he has lost 2 matches.
And the stories when the tournament finishes. This does not end with the end of the tournament. It doesn't have to. Anyway.
Final few questions for us.
Okay, let's go.
Big MGM says, what do you think is the most annoying crowd chant today, excluding the what chant?
All right, okay.
Yeah, because we were automatically going to go
we want tables. Like, you'll get them when you want them. You get too many of them to begin with. You'll probably get them. If there's an AEW plunder match, right, you'll probably get a table. Do you not think, if you're one of these people who go, we want tables, that if there's an AEW plunder match, right, the 2 wrestlers involved are going to sit down before the match and not go, I think these people want tables.
Yeah.
Let's not do tables. Like, they know we want tables. They break a table on every episode of North American Wrestling Television for the past, 25 years at this point?
Yeah.
You're going to see a broken table in that kind of thing, in that kind of context, right? Like, they probably take the piss out of you if you are requesting tables by saying, probably have the self-deprecating chat beforehand. So I'm not going to get heat for 10 minutes because we haven't got the table spot until, 12 minutes in when we're laying this out. They're well aware that you want tables. You are going to get the tables. Just wait patiently for the tables. And guess what? If you're watching Swerve and Hangman, and thankfully it got so violent so quickly that no one was bothering to do any performative chants for a long time. They were just locked in. But they were chanting for that. And then it's like, you're going to get something. I love a table just as much as the next guy, right? But sometimes things look like more sick than table spots, and just
live with that.
Live with the lovely sickness.
There was definitely a period where Chekhov's table was becoming a trope, and I think that's to do with the wrestlers having the chat. We're not going to do the spot till later on when we want to do it, but we're going to set it up now.
Get the table now so that people shut up and say, we're going to get the table.
But then that became so overdone that you had to stop doing it.
Yeah.
So the wrestlers, I do have sympathy for them because then they can't win.
I do love watching a table get broken.
Yeah, it's class.
So good.
It's brilliant. But
we'll do a couple of fun ones, then we'll get to a proper wrestling question to finish. What Christmas movie do you truly despise, says Cosmic Joe Chronicles? Or what's your favourite Christmas movie? Yes, we can ask that as well.
Despise?
Is there a single Christmas film I despise?
I despise the take that Die Hard isn't a Christmas film.
I despise the argument.
Without it.
I despise the argument.
Yeah. The argument's dead.
It's a day argument. It takes place at a Christmas
You're having
party.
the argument.
I'm not having an argument. I'm just stating facts here. It takes place at a Christmas party, and he writes, ho, 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 I've got a machine gun. It's a Christmas film. Anyway, favourite Christmas films, least favourite Christmas film?
My favourite Christmas film, probably Home Alone.
Yeah, it's up there for me.
I also love National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Never seen that.
It's mainly nostalgia at this point. A lot of the comedy's dated. But it's just like a ritual. A ritual. Least favourite. I get depressed by old films. Just like really old films. I don't know. It just reminds me.
Life looks harder, doesn't it?
Life looks harder, even though it's really hard now.
That
so
podcast
complaining
back then,
about.
so
Yeah, I
like-
didn't have banter in the past. Criminal lack of banter. I know. I think right. Very, very old films. Like I hate really old westerns, like Guns and Navarone, and like certain
I
like.
can't sit through them.
I kind of sit through them, and I think I've got this like lingering resentment stemming from my childhood of I probably only watched these types of films. Like, I'm sorry, It's a Wonderful Life. I'm sorry.
I've never watched it.
When my memories of those films are associated with, I mustn't have got what I wanted on that day as a child when you get everything you want when you're a kid, because I'm forced to watch this really old thing that my parents like. So I probably had a tantrum when these films were playing. I was like, just like, So I hate old films, and I cannot get past how old It's a Wonderful Life just looks. Didn't even have your mobile. Didn't have Wordle. You probably had just like the most darkly roasted coffees. Couldn't even have a light coffee.
Yeah. You hated your job. The commute must have been a bloody nightmare. Christmas films, it's one of them things where I don't...
I realise I'm a Philistine. Oh, It's a Wonderful Life's good. Is it? Or does it talk funny?
I don't like...
And have knee patter.
I don't like hold them up as like special. They're fine. Some are good, some are bad, but they just feel. I'm not one of the people that December hits and it's like, right, I've got to see these. Like people go mad for Elf, and I just think it's just a comedy. It's all right. I don't. It's the best comedy. It's just a film. But
Music gives me the feeling more than films.
Same.
Yeah.
And so as a result, through having kids, there's a relatively recent one that Netflix dropped in about 2017, maybe
Christmas
called
Chronicles.
Christmas Chronicles. Like hammered that a lot because kids want to watch the same films over and over again, and I'm not bored of it. And that's the
And Kurt Russell's goated.
Kurt Russell's Santa is good, and it's one of the
I've not
biggest.
seen it, yeah.
Soundtrack is unreal. Chicago looks gorgeous, which is where so much of it is set.
Bunker in it.
I mean, I've watched it enough times that I should have been able to spot him as an extra walking down the street, like in a cameo. But it's watchable over and over and over again. There's Sopranos cameo, which I won't spoil for you.
Yeah.
Which is really good. And it's really fun and sharp, and it has a nice version of the Santa Claus story that your kids can enjoy. And I've just enjoying that with them, probably more than I ever did Christmas films by myself. I don't like Love Actually, but I'm not trying to be clever about this. I used to really like it, like slop, like my bland sandwiches. Yes, please, Love Actually. And obviously the messaging has got worse and worse as the years have passed.
Before we get to yours, because I'm interested, I actually prefer going back and watching old TV Christmas specials.
Yep.
Like It's Always Sunny or The Office.
Yeah, that's probably preferable to me. I agree
Denver
with the music
and Angie
point
and
as well.
EastEnders. Miss Ange.
John Cena Street Fights, Miracle on 34 Street Fights.
Yeah.
I mean, all the obvious ones. Jingle All the Way, brilliant, obviously.
Is Jim Carrey being in a Christmas film?
Grinch.
I like The Grinch.
Yeah.
I like The Grinch.
What was the other one I was going to... Nightmare Before Christmas. It's sort
Kids
of a
like it, I'm not so
crossover
keen.
Halloween, Christmas. I'd say The Night Before is one of my favourites. The Seth Rogen. Yeah? Yeah.
Never seen it.
Worth a watch. And in terms of hating, I think I just hate all the sort of like, oh, that was quite popular. You know, The Holiday, for example, with Cameron Diaz and Jude Law and all that.
Where'd you watch
Jack
that?
Black and Louise watching. It's great. It's a good watch. But then they went, oh, that was really popular.
You fancy Cameron Diaz.
Yeah, I do. Massive.
Massive.
Massive fancy.
Massive fancy, yeah.
Right. But when they go, someone not Netflix, but someone like smaller than Netflix went, that looks quite popular. Let's just do that. You know, the Hallmark Christmas one.
Christmas break. What's this going to be?
Yeah. It's like, oh, wait a second. I think this might be alluding to this other Christmas. Yeah, I'm not really huge.
That's it's not so much over here, is it? But like Hallmark movies,
Hallmark
are a phenomenon in
movies.
America. Aren't the people who can just sit down and just like have them on that Hallmark channel, have them on all day.
Yeah. The Hallmark who did like a knockoff, like, this is Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
It sounds like it would be.
You're like, you just got a ginger bloke there. Anyway.
I don't dislike it because it's still a great film, but it really hasn't held up, I don't think, as much as I used to love it because it was New York, and I just like New York because it's the city and the telly. Home Alone 2 is too long.
It's too long and it's just
good. It's stunning in places.
Pretty much the exact same plot.
It is like the toys that it is blatantly just existing to advertise still make me wish that I could be Kevin. The recorder gimmick he's got is like, I wish I had it. Like, but it's too long.
Do you want to know what my key issues with Home Alone 2 is? Well, that.
All the abuse in that abandoned house.
I do love Tim Curry, right? You know what I hate? The voice on the toy shop owner. So saccharine.
He's a two turtle doves.
He's a two turtle doves. That's how you talk funny. Get the out of here.
You take one. You take one. I'll take one. And maybe we'll dip. Just so one burglar shop.
I hate that guy. I hate that guy.
But he's like the top baby face of the whole of New York, isn't he? Like
Home Alone 2, the one with Piers Morgan as a pigeon woman. Is that the right one? Yeah, I thought so. Donald Trump in it, yeah.
Cameo in it.
Of course, naturally. Donald Trump.
And God bless the United States.
I worry sometimes that people think that we're like pro him because of that button and the way that you get very excited. We're absolutely not.
Yeah. Cosmic Joe asks, what's your favourite video game?
Oh, is it WrestleFest or is it SmackDown Here Comes the Pain? It's SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, actually. It is. I had more hours logged on that. That and Pro Evo were the reason I owned a console when I was younger.
Pro Evo, yeah.
Like the SmackDown and Pro Evo's series is running together at the same time. That was basically 2 games a year with a GTA thrown in. I'm as basic as it gets.
I'm so basic with video games, right? Have I got even a vaguely interesting one? I'm a very casual, deeply casual gamer. All time, Super Mario 64. Just the vibe of it. Jolly Roger Bay, that theme, oh my God, it does things to me. Recently, GTA 5, I'm sorry. What's your favourite film? Titanic, if anything. GTA 5 is just absolutely incredibly goated. I love Hades, but I'm crap at it, and I realise I don't like the genre. I just love the gameplay. Don't like doing the same thing over and over and over again and being crap at it. But I love the gameplay. The actual combat is goated. Here is night, I'm thinking, oh, what a night. My son's playing Odyssey at the minute, and it's class because we got the Switch for him, and then, like, Odyssey was, like, the second game he played, and he couldn't do it at, like, 5 or 6, so we just got Mario Kart, and then do the thing where you can stay on the track. Then he got FIFA, and he's got back to Odyssey, and he's, like, on, like, the 3rd or 4th world, and he's, like, he needs the odd bit of help, but I am sort of playing that. The bits he can't do, I'll help him with. That's an absolutely tremendous title.
If you're a fan of this sort of thing, by the way, Culture Gaming
podcast. Way more informed than this.
Yeah, this sort
way
of
more
thing.
insightful.
Final question as we wrap things up. PJ Heel says, where does Hangman go here after losing the Swerve feud? Possible heel turn.
He can't be a heel. I don't think it'll work. I think they might try it, and I think in a weekly episodic era, there's no such thing as a Ricky Steamboat. Even WWE and Rey Mysterio's enduring appeal, people got bored of Rey at one point. Like, it wasn't just the...
I was finished. 2013, he was finished.
It wasn't just him not being Daniel Bryan at that Royal Rumble. It was just pretty boring, and he was like sort of off and on. You can never really go, oh, Rey... You can really invest in a Rey Mysterio.
He was work rate Kane. They could rely on him, but you didn't necessarily want to see him.
You didn't feel anything for him. I think it's going to be very hard for anyone to be a Steamboat, but my God, people don't really want to boo John Moxley. They don't want to boo him. Does anyone love to hate him?
He's too real as well. Like, the people remember the pandemic. Even the promo he cut last week. I've not really felt much for a John Moxley promo in a long time, and then he does that, and you're like,
can't hate him.
Oh, there he is. Yeah,
you cannot hate John Moxley, and I know you hate Hangman Page, but his fans can't. I just don't think it's true. I can't imagine buying it. It's just like a fundamentally decent human being with great values who's so good at being a babyface, because without being parasocial, I suspect he kind of is one insofar as wrestling goes. I've probably seen a straight Instagram like of his where you think, oh, what the fuck are you doing that for? But in terms of his character and the way he presents himself on screen, I do not know. He's so good at like feuds. Feuds. That you should just do.
That was an old punker thing, that wasn't it?
Yeah.
You should feued with the Miz.
You're required her.
I want them to do what everybody's asking them to do, which is make sure that he doesn't go away. I understand that I think there's a good idea at the heart of a bad one, which is them spotting that episodic TV kills guys. So we'll just drop him into a foo head, and then he can disappear again, and that's all right. I think that has failed, and I think it's failed Hangman Page, and I think ultimately there's no set rule. Some people do need I thought this when he was the champion, and I think it now, some people do need the regular, and some people do need the breaks, and Hangman Page is a guy that seems to need the breaks less than others, and he gets them, and I just don't think that suits. It can make sense within the stories in right now, ironically. Like, he's gone away. The Swerve loss is huge. It's absolutely massive. But it doesn't feel like he's away selling the agony of defeat. It feels like he's having one of these Hangman Page TV breaks. They've kind of, the die's cast now on that.
For what? Oh, is the Revolution the Face Revolution ladder match? That's the thing, isn't
Probably,
it?
like,
For the big Sonic ring.
I just think he needs to be a regular more than most, and they don't seem to agree, and I think it hurts him.
Really excited to see what they do next with him, but we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for all of your questions. Apologies again for the technical difficulties, but thanks to everyone who sent them to us. If you want to send us more questions that we'll answer on the news, for example, you can send them to us at WhatCultureWWE on X, where you can follow all three of us. You can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
You can follow Michael Sidgwick at
M. Sidgwick.
You can follow me at Adam Wilburn. You follow our brilliant producer at It's Adam Nicholas. Make sure you subscribe to What Culture Wrestling Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. But for now, this has been your questions answered. My thanks to Hamlet, to Sidgwick. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.